Yeah, I figured I'd wear what Leo wished he had throughout this movie because that shit looked freezing. So The Revenant is a new movie starring my favorite actor in the business, Leonardo DiCaprio, and directed by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, the guy who directed Birdman. Now, if you remember from my video for the top 10 best movies of 2015, I mentioned that there were some movies out there that were getting positive reviews that I just wasn't able to see. The Revenant was one of these movies. Now, I know some people were able to see this movie because it got a limited release on Christmas, but nowhere en masse was releasing it until January 8th, thus, here I am. So is it as good as people have been saying it is? Well, let me explain. So this movie takes place during the winter of, I believe, the 1820s. Leonardo DiCaprio is part of this hunting crew. They're stalking wildlife to sell for their fur because there is big money in that right now. However, one of these Native American tribes that's in this area is coming after Leo's crew because they believe they are involved in the abduction of the chief's daughter. And soon this tribe just completely ambushes Leo's hunting party and we get an all-out fight between the natives and the hunters. And what's interesting about this scene, and really for the entire movie itself, is the violence in this movie just looks so real. It's not like Tarantino violence where it's really bloody and absurd and that just makes it really entertaining because of the way it's presented. No, in this case, when you see guys taking arrows to the throat, being drowned, and being shot, it leaves you sitting there like, yeah, that just happened. So that battle results in the loss of nearly 2/3 of Leo's hunting party before the rest are able to escape in a boat. Now, among this group of people is Leo's son, who happens to be half Native American from his mother's side. And there are some people in this crew who have a serious problem with that, like Tom Hardy. He's constantly antagonizing Leo's son, he's really rubbing people the wrong way, and he just has a knack for really getting on people's bad side, which will only be further emphasized for what happens later in the movie. So as the crew is now looking for new settlement, Leo sets off on his own to try to see what he can find. And he runs into something that anyone who enjoys the outdoors hopes to never ever run into. He runs into 2 grizzly bear cubs. And yeah, you can tell by the sheer look on Leo's face that he's thinking to himself, fuck my life, because now it's about to be over. And not even 5 seconds later, big ol' mama bear just busts through the bushes and completely mauls the shit out of DiCaprio. I'm gonna tell you right now, this was probably the best scene of movies this year that was difficult to watch, if that makes any sense. Because this scene was just so brutal and intense and looked so disturbingly real. When I was watching this scene happen, I really thought to myself that Leo is now getting mauled by a bear. Like, this is actually happening. So yeah, he's gruesomely attacked, and he knows these bears are probably not going to leave him alone after that. They're probably going to eat him. So just before the mother bear can finish him off, Leo whips out his Bowie knife and he stabs her in the neck like 300 times with it, which eventually does kill her. The rest of the crew is able to find him, but this poor bastard is in pretty bad shape right now. They try to tend to his wounds, but obviously they don't have the proper medical supplies they need to, try to heal him. So they try to bring him along in this makeshift stretcher that they built for him, but it's only slowing everybody down. With that, Tom Hardy, Leo's son, and this one other kid who's part of the crew, they all agree to stay behind with Leo until he ultimately dies to give him a proper burial, because the leader of this group feels Leo at least deserves that. But Tom Hardy, he has different intentions here. He feels that simply waiting around for Leo to die is only going to result in everybody dying. So he tries to smother Leo to kill him, but Leo's son sees this happen and obviously tries to stop Tom Hardy. But Tom Hardy just stabs Leo's son to death right in front of a still living and breathing Leo. With that, he then tries to just bury Leo alive before ordering the other kid to come with him so they can rejoin with the rest of the men. The two of them eventually do meet up with the rest of them at one of these outposts where Tom Hardy, of course, pulls the whole, we did everything we could to save Leo and his son, but it was just too late. But it turns out Leo is not quite as dead as everyone thought he might be. He's able to get out of the grave that Tom Hardy dug for him, and now his goal is to find Tom Hardy and kill him. And this is where I think some people may start to not like the movie as much as they thought they might. Because a lot of people probably went into this movie hoping for a real revenge movie. It's Leo DiCaprio coming after Tom Hardy, full of fights and shooting and just badassery. And it's not really like that. So if that's what you wanted, you may be disappointed. If you can get past that though, I think you'll still enjoy this movie. I mean, this movie gives us a bit more of a man versus nature type of story. Because before Leo can get revenge on Tom Hardy, he has to make it to the outpost by enduring the wilderness in the condition that he is in. Don't forget, this movie is actually based off of a true story of a guy who was mauled by a bear, left to dead, and somehow, some way, had to survive nature. And honestly, whether it's exaggerated or not, it's so amazing to see what Leo has to endure to survive. 1, he's still severely injured, so he has to find ways to stop the bleeding and treat his wounds using only what he can find in nature. 2, the Native Americans are still after him because of what they believe his kind has done. And 3, seeing him have to catch his own food, eat it raw, and try to get from point A to point B through a freezing river in this cold as shit weather is just absurd. It's where I think Leo's performance really stands out in this movie and what draws you in more in seeing what he has to go through. Luckily though, he's able to catch a little bit of a break when he runs into a lone Native American who decides to help him. This guy provides Leo with food, warmth, and even security in trying to get him back to the outposts. So now Leo finally has reason to, feel ease for himself because now he actually thinks things are going to start looking up for him. Until the next day when Leo sees this Native American had just been hunned by this group of French hunters who are also looking for fur to collect from wildlife. And to add further insult to injury, these are the guys who actually kidnapped the native chief's daughter and have basically been using her for sex. However, Leo is able to make his way into this camp, free the chief's daughter, and steal one of their horses in order to make up some more ground. But unfortunately, he's confronted by the same native tribe from earlier in this movie, and they have absolutely no idea that he has freed the chief's daughter, so they still want his head on a stick. They try to chase Leo down, but it only leads to Leo and his horse falling off the edge of a cliff. Leo's horse dies from the fall, so now, in order to survive, he basically has to disembowel this thing in order to use its body for shelter. That is determination right there, people. Now his suffering finally comes to an end when members of his crew find him in the woods and bring him back to the outposts. However, just as he has been brought back, Tom Hardy has all of a sudden left. And Leo knows that he was thinking, wait, the guy whose son I killed is still alive, endured all this shit, and is on his way back here? Yeah, I'm gonna go be somewhere else that's, not here. So with that, Leo persuades his leader to go with him to try to find Tom Hardy and kill him for what he did. And Leo, through being the very smart tracker that he is and knowing so much about the wilderness, the two of them are able to find Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy kills this leader, but he is not able to kill Leo, and now Leo is just pursuing him like there is no tomorrow. Leo eventually corners him to a lake, and now a fight to the death is officially on. And like all the violence in this movie, it's real looking, it's brutal, and it's so intense. Leo, however, is eventually able to overpower Hardy, but instead of killing him, he sends his ass into the river to send him flowing to the other side where the native chief is there, now reunited with his daughter. And he just stabs Tom Hardy to death, but he spares DiCaprio's life for saving his daughter. So all in all, I thought The Revenant was a really good movie. Like I said, it may not be exactly what we thought it would be, but I still think it turned out to be something really interesting. Leonardo DiCaprio, as always, just kills it in this movie. And what I thought made his performance so great is he doesn't talk very much in this movie, and when he does, it's even in a different language at times. This was probably one of the most committed roles I have seen him in, and it's awesome. Should he get nominated for an Oscar? Absolutely. Will he win? Probably not, because the Academy is full of shit. But whatever, he is still one of the best actors in the business. Everyone else did a great job. Tom Hardy gave a great performance, even though it was really hard to understand him sometimes. I feel like that's the case now with most of his movies. I mean, Dark Knight Rises, Mad Max Fury Road, it's just something about his really gruff and sometimes mumbling voice that makes it really tough to follow him sometimes. But he's still a great actor, and I can't take anything away from him. The cinematography in this movie is awesome. The way the movie relies on natural lighting for filming, I think is really impressive. The movie just looks so real in everything that it does, and I think that's great. I will say, though, this movie is longer than it needs to be. I mean, it is around 2.5 hours long. And when you watch it, you can pick out certain scenes in this movie that you can say could be taken out so the movie doesn't feel as dragged on. But the movie is still well directed, well acted, well shot. Would it have made my top 10 list? I'm not entirely sure, but it definitely would have been a contender. And either way, it's a movie that I am glad I finally saw, even though it took way longer for me to see it. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.